Hey guys, my name is Emory here with my partner Josh Brand. I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about the Explorer 1 mission. So, give you some mission background. It was launched during the height of the Soviet USA space race. So, 1950s, America was just getting out of Korea. Height of the Cold War, basically, communism versus democracy, all that good stuff. And the space race was just another part of that Cold War. So, Explorer 1 was the first US satellite to reach orbit. Many of you guys probably already know that. Also probably can grasp that there was many failed attempts prior to the Explorer 1. So although this is the first successful satellite to get up there and get into orbit for the United States, it was not the first attempt. They tried many times. Sometimes just couldn't get the rocket into orbit. Problems with the launching, all that kind of stuff that you can probably guess would happen when you're sending something into space. But it was finally successfully launched on the 31st of January back in 1958. So, mission objective. Public opinion on the mission differed from the objective. Oh, yep, forgot about that. Anyways, public opinion on the mission differed from the objective that the government specified. So, the government basically said, we're going to send this rocket and settle it up there to measure radiation within Earth's atmosphere. But people back then, and even a lot of people nowadays, really think that the main goal of sending this satellite up into orbit was just kind of to stick it to the Russians, let them know that America's space program was not far behind the Russians, that we could send something up into orbit as well as they could. So that's another important piece of the mission. So some satellite components. I have a diagram here for you. Again, back in 1958, so they didn't have the best technology back then, but as you can see, still put a lot into this rocket. So this is the Juno 1 rocket right here that took the satellite up into space, into orbit. And this rocket itself was only, I think, 81 inches long, so not very large, but as you can tell, still got a lot of technology packed in there. Some transmitters to transmit the information back to Earth, 10 of wires, all that kind of stuff, and most importantly, the cosmic ray package, which was what actually measured the radiation up there in the atmosphere. So here's some satellite mission specifications. Total mission length was 11 days. Launched from Cape Canaveral. Launch mass only 14 kilograms. So most people think of satellites, they're thinking of something the size of a car, size of an airplane, something weighing a couple tons, something like that. Oh, there goes the satellite. That should be off the animations. um, but again, this was just 14 kilograms, not very heavy at all. But it was one of the first satellites to ever be sent up into space, so it probably makes sense it wasn't all that large. Again, like I said earlier, the rocket length only 80 3/4 inches long. Also not very tall when you think of rockets you see getting launched off nowadays. They're hundreds of feet tall. This one is only a couple feet. So last contact with the satellite was on the 23rd of May 1958, just about 50 days after it was launched. They received their last transmission with radiation data from the Explorer 1 satellite. And this mission successfully discovered the James Van Allen belt of radiation, which I will get into in just a moment. So, Explorer 1 cosmic ray package, like I said earlier, it's the most important piece of technology that the satellite was carrying. Um, Basically, its goal was to measure the radiation in the atmosphere, which is what the government said the satellite was up there to do. But unfortunately, as soon as the satellite got up there, people on the ground realized that they were receiving data that was much lower in terms of radiation levels than what they were originally expecting. And the scientist, Van Allen, who the belt's named after, um, quickly came to the theory that he thought that they were receiving lower levels because the cosmic ray package had been damaged by some unusually high, unusually dense levels of radiation that the satellite had crossed through, which we now know as the Van Allen belt that surrounds some of the Earth. So very highly charged particles, very dense particles up there that could do damage to humans and technology that could pass through them for extended periods of time. So big important discovery that this Explorer 1 satellite was able to come across while it was up there in orbit. Um, so, cosmic ray package, what does it really do? Here's an example. Very complex piece of equipment, not something that I'm an expert of by any means, but here's a quick diagram that should be able to show you kind of the basis for what's going on. Different types of radiation waves, so you have gamma, beta, alpha, just to name a few, that will pass through the detector, and there's different levels of the different layers of the detector. And based on what type of waves get through, some are stopped by the metal shielding, some are not. The detector is able to filter through those and kind of discern what levels of radiation the satellite's experiencing while it's up there in orbit. Again, very complex piece of equipment, even back then, 1958. So that's almost 58 years ago. It's pretty amazing they had something so advanced, and makes me wonder what type of technology they have out there now in the satellites that are up there orbiting Earth. It's pretty amazing. So just in conclusion, wrap things up for you guys. Explorer 1 was the United States' first successful satellite launch, first one to get up into orbit. Like I mentioned a couple times, not the first one that they tried. Many failed attempts prior to this one, but this is the first one that successfully entered orbit. Um, and again, most people know, not the first satellite to be launched up by humans in general. Russians launched Sputnik a couple months prior to this Explorer 1. But mission did lead to the discovery of the Van Allen belt that surrounds Earth. On top of that, also, like I said, kind of stuck it to the Russians. This might have, in my opinion, tipped the space age in America's favor. Ever since the Explorer 1 was launched up there, America's definitely been on the forefront of everything related to space exploration. I know recent years, yeah, it's kind of taken a cut. NASA's taken a hit from government spending, all that kind of stuff. But back then, it's kind of the golden age of space exploration, where America really understood the importance of getting out there and exploring something larger than just our own planet. Um, and although the cosmic ray detector did not read radiation values appropriately, wasn't reading accurate representations of the actual radiation up there in the atmosphere, scientists back here on the ground were able to take that data and make use of it, and still provide them with some very useful information. So that's all I've got. I hope you guys learned a lot about the Explorer 1, first satellite launched by the United States of America. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.